Alright guys, so our next topic here is going to shoot us back into the DC universe, and I guess more particular this time actually into the DCEU, back into the DCEU, because we got some news, I don't know, some potential hints, I guess, and then some rumblings here and there of what Warner Brothers is going to be doing here with Wonder Woman 84. And it's been one of those movies that was supposed to come out this year, obviously affected by the pandemic, and they've had to push it back, like, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 times. It's had to shift its release date or something like that. And right now, to this day, it is still sitting on a December 25th release date. And John and I, in particular, speculated about a week or two ago. I can't remember when it was, but we essentially didn't think that there's really no way this thing's going to be holding this December 25th release date. I think it was on Wonder Woman day, set like 50th year anniversary,
yeah,
or something.
a couple weeks ago with that teaser trailer they dropped, or that not teaser trailer, that celebration
thing, yeah.
sizzle reel celebration trailer for Wonder Woman.
Yeah, because they at the very end of it they had an advertisement for Wonder Woman 84, and it just said like coming soon,
yeah,
as opposed to coming to theaters December 25th, like any normal marketing thing would do for it. So like, we've pretty much been suspecting at this point, like, there's no way they're keeping that date, and now the theaters are shutting down and the virus is spreading worse than ever because America, USA, like, yeah. So there's probably much no doubt, and I feel like we got at this point just even more indication that it's probably gonna get pushed back, because the first thing that came out like 5 days ago here was that DC was postponing some Wonder Woman 1984 variants, like in the comics and books and everything, and pretty much anything related to Wonder Woman 84, they're moving them back.
Yeah,
and a lot of just the comic book world and everything. So
the funny thing is DC has had these solicited. So I'm not sure how many of our audience are familiar with how comics come out, but usually comics release what they call a solicitation, which basically tells you what's going to be in the comic as well as who the creators are on it, about 2 or 3 months before the actual books hit the stands. And so DC has solicited, they've had the artwork for these books, and they've posted them to the public for people to pre-order, going all the way back into the beginning of this year, because the anticipation was that the movie was going to come out, I think, June was the original release date, I think.
Yeah, it was supposed to come out right around a little after Black Widow, I think.
Yeah. So they solicited them then, and then they canceled all those pre-orders on them, and then they solicited them again when they thought it was going to relaunch this fall, and then they canceled all those, and then they've done it yet again when they said it was going to be Christmas, and here we are with them being canceled yet again. And the reason they do these books, the reason they have these books, is to promote the movie, to provide that extra little push to remind all the people that are picking up the comics, as if they would forget, but just to remind them that, hey, there's this giant movie going on. And maybe that flip side is more true. Maybe it's to
push the comics.
Push the comics. People that go see the movies that might find their way into a comic book store will see this image of Wonder Woman from the movie on the book in front of them, and give them an inclination or a motivation to pick it up. But anyway, as soon as we said that, and then as soon as we saw this news hit, I think we were both, it just reinforced in our minds what we had already talked about like 2 or 3 weeks ago, with the fact there's no way this movie's hitting its December 25th release, at least not for theaters.
Well, especially now too, like, because I mean, obviously this is nothing that they could foresee. Like,
Sure.
Some places movie theaters never reopened to begin with. But then a lot of places they tried reopening and now they're shutting back down. And a lot of them are not shutting back down because they're COVID hotspots. They're just shutting down because all the movies are being pushed back. They don't have anything to play. So it's just, they're already losing money because they have to space everybody out and everything. But when you don't have anything to go see, they're not making any money. They're just hemorrhaging even more money. But then
I'm going to go off on just a quick tangent real quick. So I saw a news article yesterday or the day before, and I can't remember who it was. It might have been like USA Today. It was an article that talked about like the top 5 hotspots for COVID, and I clicked on it because I just wanted to see movie theaters on that list, and I was shocked that movie theaters are not on that list.
Yeah,
restaurants and bars, gyms. I can't remember the other ones that were on there, were all hotspots for COVID. Yet movie theaters, which we've been told all along are not, or should be hotspots for, were not on that list. And I'm trying to I'm trying to determine if that's because people just aren't going to the movies, which is probably the case, or if movies
Part of
are,
it, yeah.
or if the social distancing and some of the preventive measures that movie theaters have taken it are maybe working a little better than people had anticipated.
I think it's a little bit of both because they haven't been able to in any state, as to my knowledge. 'Cause I think there was it may have been in the same article or a different article, but they have never been able to, like, to this point in time. This was just like a week or so ago. I saw this. They haven't been able to trace any sort of COVID outbreaks to a movie theater, like
Hmm.
across the states. So,
Yeah,
like, there's been essentially no evidence that they are affecting the spread of COVID in any way. Much like
sure.
the reverse of that, which would, like, restaurants and all these places that aren't practicing the not that everybody does and doesn't, but like it's hit and miss. Some places will do it more than others, and some that probably should be. Like a gym probably shouldn't be open to begin with because everybody's touching everything. Like, I mean, you're
Sure.
breathing heavy, touching everything, small room, maybe a big room, but either way, everybody's touching everything. You can't really social distance. So I mean, one could argue they probably should have never opened up. But,
Mhm.
like, with movie theaters, they've always had the capability, and then any of the ones that I heard about, I haven't gone to one since this all happened, but mainly just because there hasn't Tenet's been the only thing that's come out. Like, other than, like, I haven't really wanted to as cool as it would have been to go back and see Empire Strikes Back on the big screen,
Yeah,
I have it, and I don't really need to go put myself at risk in any capacity to do it, so I never did.
sure.
And, like, I considered going to see Tenet because I remember at one point in time specifically looking at the seating arrangements on it, and there was 2 people in one of the theaters. So I was like, "We could go, like, I'm sure this'll be fine." And then, like,
Yeah,
they're spacing everything out, and you can see, like, if you select these 2 seats, the 2 seats next to you will be blocked off, and, like, they were
yep,
doing like, movie theaters have been practicing safe social distancing, and due to the fact that there hasn't been a lot of people going into them to begin with, like, I coulda went and saw Tenet, like, it was, like, week 2 of its release with just 2 other people. Like, there were
yeah,
more people in that Empire Strikes Back theater than there were in the Tenet theater, which was, like, kinda
yeah,
shocking, but that's just how it was. So, yeah, it's kinda baffling that, a lot of places just haven't reopened theaters to begin with, but went ahead and opened gyms and all that kinda stuff. But, the only other thing with this Wonder Woman thing that just kinda brought even more indication that, there's definitely some movement going on with, them trying to figure out what they're doing with Wonder Woman. Because just shortly after that article came out, supposedly there's been some discussion at Warner Brothers to potentially do a very short, theatrical release of Wonder Woman, if possible, and then kick it, straight to HBO Max by January. And this kinda can talk touches into another story that I don't have brought up as, like, a main topic or anything, but, like, Cinemark had recently come out and said that they would be open to shortening the theatrical window for movies, especially during this time period right now, by, like, a movie by movie basis. So they would take, I don't know, just like that. Like, so normally, though, the theatrical window is about, like, 90 days. So, like, a
yeah,
movie can't go on streaming or come out on home video or anything like that until it's done, a 90-day stint in the theaters, and then the studios can do whatever they want with it. And, just recently, I don't know, it was a couple months ago, AMC made a deal with Universal that would essentially allow them to shorten that theatrical window. But the only caveat to that was the deal essentially meant nothing because all of NATO, the National Theater Organization or whatever, would have to sign off on it. So just because AMC says it's okay for them to do it, then, for instance, Universal would only be able to release that movie in AMC theaters if they wanted to keep it into like a shortened window, because they wouldn't be able
mhm,
to release it to like a Cinemark theater who isn't agreeing to those terms and an AMC theater, and they can't have their cake and eat it too. Like they all have to be on board with it. And now Cinemark has come out and said that they would be on board with it from a movie by movie basis. And I think realistically, it's not just a movie by movie basis at this point in time. It'd probably more or less just be like, what month are we in kind of basis. Because Wonder Woman like was going to be coming out along with Free Guy and then I think Death on the Nile sequel to
yes, yep,
uh Kenneth Branagh movie. I can't remember what it's called, the murder mystery one. Um, those were supposed to be coming out the same week of Wonder Woman, and those got pushed back already. And I could see any theater right now just that is open, they just need content. Like I said, like they need a reason for people to come in. So, because I think in a perfect world, Wonder Woman 84 would be one of those movies that Cinemark would not do a shortened window one. The big budget ones is not what they would want to do. Like doing like your animated features, your trolls and stuff like that. That's what you would do a shortened window on, because the majority of those people, and especially with most movies anymore, especially the big blockbusters even, you get your big business like opening weekend and then you trickle down from there anyway. And
Yep.
especially with the smaller budget ones like, animated movie here and there, you're not pulling in millions of dollars after a month. So like those ones, the theaters won't be missing out on too much by shortening the window on those. But like Wonder Woman and Endgame and these kind of things, like they make millions of dollars on these things every weekend for a couple months at a time. So they would never do that with these in a perfect world. But right now, it's just they don't really have a choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I
Yeah.
don't know. It'd be interesting to see if they decided to do a short release on this just to get it out, because it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of a. It's not one I could see them. Definitely not something I'd see Warner Brothers really wanting to do. But I mean, the studios work on borrowed money, so like if they got bills to pay, then they need to get it out, try to make some money on it, especially after how much they just lost with Tenet. Like,
Sure.
so I mean, I don't know. What do you think this after this? You think it's actually gonna? You think we'll see this on HBO Max before February, or you think they're gonna hold off and wait until June 2022 or 2021 rather?
If I was betting on this, I would bet for the June release. I
Yeah,
would bet that I would bet that they follow Marvel's Disney and Marvel's lead and just push everything back. Call 2020 a wash, move everything back basically a year and go from there. And here's my main reason for placing that bet is that um, I'm not sure when these talks about releasing Wonder Woman to streaming and maybe having a short theatrical window were taking
this was on
place.
the 12th. At least this article is
Okay.
on the 12th, but they could have been
Yeah,
talking
so
about this for months. Who knows?
exactly. And so even if it was, as recent as a week ago or 2 weeks ago, we got some maybe game-changing news at the beginning of last week with Pfizer announcing that there's a potential vaccine
True.
that's coming. And so at this point, Warner Brothers and all the movie theaters have to kind of hedge their bets and go, well, that's a game changer. If this vaccine is able to control the virus and restore some normalcy to the marketplace, then we could see a summer release slate that goes off without a hitch, or at least without a hitch comparative to the hitches that they've experienced up until this point. And so, do we want to forego the possibility of 100, $200 million, you know, theater, or well, I mean, I guess you're talking about more than that, but $100 million release, opening weekend, $150 million opening weekend for Wonder Woman 84, and then maybe a 300, 400, $500 million run in theaters to get back, a fraction of that with a small window now and a streaming release. And I just think at this point, you've waited this long. What's another 6 months? What's especially with this hopefully good news on the horizon here. What's it going to hurt? So that's where I'm putting my money, is that we see this get moved back to June, that they follow Marvel's suit, and hopefully, come May and June, people will be back in theaters seeing these
Yeah.
movies.
Well, that's the thing too. Just to add to the possible vaccine coming out, as soon as that article was released, the stocks in theaters and everything, and a lot of the public venues like that went up.
Yeah,
So it's a lot. So it definitely would make sense that like some people are probably going to be hedging. My only worry, well, people probably are hedging their bets. So I guess I should finish that thought. But my only worry is that every studio has pushed back every movie that they had to 2021 already, or maybe even later. So there were like, it's just going to be a
And there
stack
were
of movies.
already movies. Yeah, there were already movies that were supposed to be coming out.
Yeah,
So
like that's like
so you're going to have this flood of. Well, the only thing I'll say about that is, while yes, that will lead to an absolute deluge. I can't say that word.
tell you.
Deluge. There you go, of movies coming out. Um, Production was halted on a lot of stuff for quite a while, because of COVID too. So there's going to be a lull there's a gap there somewhere, not just in the release of the movies, but also in the production of movies. So there's going to be some shifting and some shuffling around that needs to happen. But and if it's safe to go back to the theater, I'm all for going and seeing a couple movies a weekend once they come back. I'm feeling like I've been missing it for a while, so
Yeah, yeah,
they'll
no
have my
doubt.
money. So
Dude, it's been so I can't even. I think Endgame may have. I feel like Endgame was the last movie I went to see at this point.
oof,
It's
that's
been a
rough,
minute.
man.
Like
Yeah,
I can't think of. I can't think of what else I went to see in the theater. Like it's been a long time.
that's 18 months at this point, I think.
Yeah, it's been. Yeah, I may have seen some else before then, but like, I literally, in my mind, I can't think of anything else that I went to go see. So it's definitely been some time. I've definitely
Oh,
missed.
did you see Far From Home?
I did see Far From Home. Yeah, I
There you
did.
go.
So that was probably the last one.
Okay.
Either way, it's been a long time. It's been so
Sure.
long
Oh
I
yeah.
can't even remember the last time I went.
Nothing in 2020. You have not been to the movies in
Yeah,
2020.
not
So yeah,
once. So we shall
crazy.
see. The question is, guys, what do you think about all this? Do you think that kind of like I feel like there's no way Wonder Woman's coming out this year. I don't think we're gonna see an HBO Max just because I know like they lost so much money with Tenet. Like, that movie, it cost them like $200+ million, and it made under 400 million with its worldwide release. So like they were definitely looking for more money with that and hoping that it would bring a lot more people back to the theaters. But just the way everything's been, people didn't go out and rush out to see it. A lot of people didn't even have the opportunity to because, like I said, theaters weren't even open. So like the fact that they saw like because Warner Brothers firsthand put out Tenet, so they know firsthand what they can expect from releasing a movie like right now. And I just don't see them. I don't see them wanting to go through that again. Granted, I guess the only thing we didn't really discuss, which could be a caveat, is just real quick before we move on. Like we did mention, the Disney Plus is like almost tripling HBO Max subscribers. So there could be a push for them to want to maybe drop something real big on HBO Max and try to bump
Yeah.
that count. But I don't know. You're
You
looking
also
at a lot of subscribers to try to break out. The Wonder Woman 1 made like $800 million.
sure.
I don't think they're going to get that much out of subscribers. So
Well, and you also have to. Disney had a jump on their Disney Plus has been around for just over a year now, whereas HBO's been around what 4 or 5 months.
well, that's just
Um,
HBO Max because this subscriber count includes HBO members. And they're still being doubled or tripled.
Sure. Well, I guess that's what I meant is that the HBO Max service trail behind the Disney service. So Disney has had time. I think a better comparison would be where was Disney Plus at the same time. So let's say HBO Max has been out 5 months now. Where was Disney Plus at 5 months? Were they at
Or
So that's a better apples to apples comparison than where they both at right now. Obviously, HBO Max wants to catch or even surpass Disney, which I think is going to be hard without brand recognition.
I don't know.
Maybe
HBO's a big brand.
it
And then they
is,
got
but
Warner
again,
Brothers, but
but again, HBO is at least, and this is my perception. I don't have marketing stats to support this, but my perception of HBO is it's got great original content, great original television shows. You think back to The Wire, you think back to um,
Sopranos,
Sopranos, yeah, yeah,
Entourage, Game of Thrones.
Entourage, Game of Thrones. You think back to all the great series they have. They're all adult-oriented series, which is great. You get young people just out of college, you get people on their own, you get bachelors. But when you start talking about families and people with kids, if they're choosing one streaming service or another on any given month, they're going to go for Disney, I'm guessing, most of the time. So you know, I think when they start, if we if there's a streaming war brewing, or if we're in the midst of a streaming war,
We're
it's
in
going to
the
be hard.
midst of it for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to ever compare those equally.
I
So
will
you're right. I
say
think
HBO is the closest comparison to Disney Plus, though.
really,
Despite that, in my opinion, because they have a back catalog that is rivals the size, if not exceeds the size. And then they also have very kid friend they have, like, Looney Tunes, they have all these, Fresh Prince of
and they
Bel-Air, like,
and they've
all these
yeah.
things, like,
Well, they've got the
even
Sesame
Friends,
Street.
like
Yeah, they've got the entire Sesame Street catalog
yeah, they got a ton of
at
stuff.
their disposal. That's the one thing that I don't think they do very well is they don't market. Like, I never see anything about HBO
True.
Max, and I don't. Not only do I not see anything, I don't see their kid stuff highlighted anywhere. I have kids, and yet I don't see or
Yeah.
hear anything about HBO Max and kids. I hear Disney Plus.
I think they rushed it
Um,
out, man. 'Cause
so
they also have Crunchyroll, like, so they have,
yep,
like, there's so much more. I think the problem with HBO Max and why it didn't take off right is 'cause it came out too soon. They had a bunch of their content still licensed out with people. Because they also have, like, all the DC stuff, so they like, and
sure,
always use that as an example because they were marketing hard on, like, "Come here for DC content," and then, like, 1 month in, they said like, "Oh, these movies are leaving," and it was like a bunch
yeah,
of DC movies because they had them licensed to go other places already. So they only had like a 1 month window that they could even have them at launch. And like,
yeah,
I think right now they're in a place where they probably can't even market their full like library because it's so
catalog,
caught up and stuff. Because I think, like
yeah,
I said, I think they, if anybody, could rival Disney Plus, um, at least as far as like one-to-one content. Because like Netflix just has a bunch of crazy, like what you never know what you're gonna find on Netflix. But
yeah,
Disney, kind of to your point, you know what to expect. You know what you're getting. Like HBO, offhand, you're probably 100% correct in that. Like the first thing people probably think of are like those adult shows. Like, and
mhm.
that's pretty much it. And like they're not marketing really like their kid friendly content and all that stuff really. So I don't know. That's probably it. Like I would say. I don't know.
Well, and I think the other thing that we've discussed a little bit on the show is, um, Disney is they're an established company. They're nothing's changing at Disney. They have one goal and one motivation. That's it. HBO and Warner Brothers are still in the midst of this AT&T merger, this AT&T acquisition, and AT&T is still trying to figure out how to be an entertainment company. And I think that uncertainty and that the sand shifting beneath the feet of everybody in these different divisions of Warner Brothers is causing a lot of this real disjointed release and information that's coming out of these companies, and that's why you don't get a clear idea of what HBO Max is and who it's for and what they offer. Um, Maybe we'll get that at one point, but I think that's also really hindering their service and maybe holding back their subscription numbers because they don't have good messaging about what they are and who they're for and what they offer people. So,
Yeah.
and you can't magically fix that by releasing Wonder Woman 84. It
You
might give you
definitely
a bump,
can't. Yeah.
but it's not going to fix it.
Yeah, and it's definitely not gonna bring $800 million of subscribers to you.
Sure.
Even with it being twice the price of, 'cause that's another thing too, HBO Max is twice the price of Disney Plus. Now, granted, Disney
Yeah.
Plus is 100% gonna be increasing that price soon. Like, I know for a fact they're gonna be, because I think even despite that, that same article was showing like, "Oh, they made this much money when this many subscribers," they still reported a loss. Like,
Hmm.
overall, just between their like, how much debt they're in and everything versus, like, how much profit they've made. They're still technically working in a deficit right now despite their high subscriber counts because 'cause they're only charging $6 a month. Like
Yeah.
so we'll have to just see. I definitely I agree that I don't think Wonder Woman is gonna hit HBO Max, but you never know. In this day and age, Jamie Foxx is coming back as Electro, man. So anything is possible. And that's where, I don't know, all bets are off to me anymore. So
Yeah.
question is, guys, what do you think about all this? I know we went on for that one a little bit longer than I thought with the HBO talk, but I don't know, it all makes sense in some way, and it's all connected, so it's definitely worth talking about. But let us know what you guys think down in the comment section below.